Dear poor people, is Vivek Ramaswamy a prophet?
Literally, it's given people meaning for that long. It's at least withstood the test of time.
Well, if every
the very
time they
least.
deviate from it, the kingdom falls.
Yeah.
And when I see a kingdom fall in history, I see what happens is they water down the father figure. Super perfect way to attack a country, attack a home. If you get rid of the father, then who's going to raise your kids? And so I'm noticing that our country is being divided.
So, as you can see, and what's important to notice here is that this interview with George Janko, I believe the gentleman's name is, the George Janko podcast, he had Vivek on 4 months ago. This is 4 months before today. 4 months ago. So I want you to hear what Vivek said 4 months ago. At this point, I am now thinking Vivek, his new name must be Nostradamus or something. Nostradamus is who he is, because this prediction that he made 4 months ago is amazing. And everyone keeps saying, we are sitting here right now. We are watching history in real time. We are literally every day, historic events are unfolding before us. And how it is, all of these people in the media are saying, oh, we didn't know. I'm so verklempt. Oh, they're clutching their pearls. Nobody knew. We saw that debate. Bless his heart. We saw that debate. And honey, the world went crazy. These people were like, are you serious? And folks on the conservative side, what did one of the pundits say? Joe Biden just showed us that he looks like, not that he is, that he looks like the caricature that Republicans in the right wing have been painting him as. As opposed to what? He's not that? Can you please? Good. Thank you. Please show us some video of him not being that. That's what we want to see. We want to see some video of him other than what we saw on the debate stage, and other than what we saw at D-Day in France, and other than what we saw when he was on the podium bent over like this, while Jill Biden was whispering, I suspect, stand up, stand up. Who knows what she was saying to her? Who knows what she was saying to him? We have seen Joe. I've said in other videos, I can go as far back as to his speech in Delaware in 2020 when he broke out the corn pop story, which I to this day find one of the most funny political moments I have ever heard. But again, this is not about politics for politics' sake. There are lots of people who are doing that, and there's a place for that. However, that's not what we're doing on this channel. What we're trying to understand is that politics is really a manifestation of collective behavior. And more importantly, collective behavior is a manifestation of collective thinking. If you want to know what direction the country is going in, you have to know how the people in this country are thinking. And it is amazing to me that Vivek, what's his name, Nostradamus, came out and 4 months ago said this. Take a listen.
You know, my feeling about Joe is I actually, maybe much less than other Republicans, spend a lot less of my airtime sitting around criticizing him, because I don't even think that in any real sense of the word, he is the operative president of the United States. I think he is, like so many politicians, a figure. He's a puppet for this managerial machine that sits underneath him. So it's like a bad version, a nightmarish version of like the Greg Popovich San Antonio Spurs, right? It almost doesn't matter who's playing point guard because it's a machine that operates irrespective of who's actually playing whatever role they're playing. And he just happens to be really the instrument, the puppet who's playing the role of the U.S. president. And viewed as such, see, a lot of people wonder, well, why would they nominate this man who has this many cognitive deficits or is unable to construct full sentences? In some ways, for the people who are operating that machine, and that's not one person who's like the Wizard of Oz sitting behind the scenes, it's a whole machine, it's actually more convenient when the president doesn't have independent thoughts of his own, when the president itself is just a cog in that wheel. And so, yes, could I give you a whole litany for 2 hours of a list of Biden's policies that have been disasters for the country, the failure to enforce basic policies on our southern border, the implications for economy? Yes, we could go through all of that, and it wouldn't be that different than what many of the Republican politicians could tell you. But I think the reality is actually far more interesting and far more important to the country, which is that the idea that this is one man who's actually calling the shots as the leader of the executive branch is a farce. He's not. The people who were electing to run the government, that's the myth we tell ourselves in America today. That we tell ourselves, we go through these elections, the people we elect to run the government, they're the ones running the government, then we hold them accountable. It's all a fairy tale. The people we're electing to run the government, they're not the ones actually running the government. It is this managerial bureaucracy, this machine that's independent of the people who we elect. But the people who we never elected are the ones really pulling the strings. And so what do I think of Joe Biden? I think he's a puppet. And I think for that reason, he's mostly irrelevant. And I think a lot of the focus disproportionately, like even in the Republican primary process, the pledge they had all the candidates sign is the Beat Biden pledge. As I signed it, I kind of scoffed. I mean, you had to sign it to be on the debate stage, so I signed it. But I kind of laughed to myself because it reflects the way in which the Republican Party is itself missing the point. I think there's a very good chance Joe Biden won't end up being the nominee by the time we get there.
Yeah.
The puppet masters are slowly losing their use for him. When you become totally impaired at a certain point, you stop being useful even as a puppet. But I think that's what I think is really going on with the Biden issue.
And you
Well, what did we have here? 4 months ago, this man said Joe Biden was not going to be the nominee, and wait for it. The reason he's not going to be the nominee is because his cognitive impairments have stopped him from being useful as a puppet. So let's understand this. These people were perfectly happy with having Joe Biden as a stand-in figure for when I guess they could get him to stand. When they could get him to stand, he was fine as a stand-in figure. However, his ability to even stand in has dwindled to the point that now they are scoffing and running and beating the streets on bare feet, trying to figure out, they may be going door knocking. Who can be president? Who can be president? Gretchen, are you home? Gretchen. They're calling out Gretchen. Gavin. They are knocking door to door. They're going on Democrat. Look, if you're a Democrat, you better be careful about answering your door, because who knows who might be showing up to draft you to hurry up so that you can stand in for what they call old Joe. So that you can stand in for old Joe. But it is amazing to say that they are going to chuck him. 4 months ago, I can't stop saying this. 4 months ago, Nostradamus said that they were going to chuck Joe Biden, old Joe, overboard because he has ceased to be useful even as their puppet. Boy, that's an amazing statement. And that's a heady even just to understand it. But worse than that, what that now says, and this is why I believe the scramble is so fast and so furious among the Democrat Party. The reason the scramble is so fast and so furious is because now that Joe has been exposed as a stand-in puppet, now the light, like a spotlight, starts to shine down. Now the light is shining on who actually is running this government, because that debate confirmed for everybody that it was definitely not old Joe. Old Joe is not running the government. So if he's not running the government, then who in fact is running the government? And whoever is running the government is scrambling to get somebody else to stand up in that spotlight so they can remain hidden. I'm with this. I think as long as it takes, I hope they don't find anybody no time soon, because I want to see who these people, these unelected people who really think that they're running the government, and they just put up a figure to smile and charm us while they're like Oz behind the curtain, the great and powerful Oz behind the curtain, keeping that curtain closed. I say no. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. Let's keep pushing this curtain back so we can finally see who's behind there. Because what we now know is it definitely isn't old Joe. And I will say this. Everybody said, oh, Vivek is young and he's brash and he was a ball of energy. First of all, I took notice of Nostradamus a couple years back when he was on the press junket promoting his book, Woke Inc. I started to really look at him and find in his companies, and I thought he was an interesting and fascinating figure, and still do. and still do. However, what this does show is there has to be some kind of political machine, and this guarantees that there is a media machine, because how is it that he said this 4 months ago? I saw him say this on one of the primary debate stage, and everybody glossed over it and just act like he's crazy. And now that it looks like this is coming to pass, why aren't people circling back to Vivek and asking him, how did you know this? If somebody predicts something and it comes true, shouldn't we want to know? How is it you were able to figure that out when no one else was? Isn't that odd that nobody seems to want to know how Vivek came to this conclusion? Well, I do. Vivek, call me. Call me. Call me. I'm interested in how it is that you were able to find it, and why everybody else seems to want to bury this prediction under the rug and act like it didn't happen. No, 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 no. At least for my part, I'm bringing it to the light of day. He said it. We're going to give him credit for saying it. He's getting his proper accolades and his proper due. Now we have to come back and say, Vivek, you were right. Please remember to like, share, subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification button so you know the next time I drop a video. Thank you for visiting my channel and watching this video. I cannot wait for you to come back and see some of the other videos I've done and am going to do. So I can't wait to see you. You have a great day. Bye-bye.